Okay, let's talk. When Elden Ring first came out, I really enjoyed the game, however I had my hangups with it, and I did an entire playthrough of the game. My hangups were few, but they did impact my enjoyment. They were that I wasn't a fan of the boss design, mechanically speaking on average, because I thought that the game utilized delayed attacks and having the boss jump far away from you, and thus having you run towards the fight far too often, in conjunction with the open world design leading to a lot of boss fights that were repeated. Like the Erdtree Spirit thing, the Burial Guardian, those kinds of things, like those fights, they are repeated a little bit too much for my taste in the open world, which makes exploring the open world feel a little bit lacking near the end of the game, at least it did for me back then. And funnily enough, one of the biggest saving graces of the game for me was all the different builds that I could elect to go down and utilize on a moment-to-moment, well, seeming basis that varied up the gameplay and the experience and really injected a bunch of life into the game and helped me to be able to finish the game with the Ronnie ending, of course. However, with the DLC coming out, Shadow of the Erdtree, I decided I want to go back to Elden Ring, give that game another chance because I thought my opinions and just overall taste in gaming had kind of shifted and changed in the last couple of years. And looking back on it, this has been one of the most important overall trends for me throughout my entire life, is that my taste in gaming can change. And they can change quite drastically. I wouldn't call them phases per se, it's just, well, maybe they are phases. And maybe I'm just bloviating about that fact. But you see, I got kind of sick a few weeks ago. Nothing too serious, just it really wore me out. And I decided to go back and play Dark Souls 1 because I remember greatly enjoying that game way back when, and it had been years since I actually played Dark Souls 1 in any serious manner, so I decided, you know what, screw it, let's dive back into the game. And funny enough, the biggest thing I noticed was just how relaxing that I found the game. In a game that a lot of people commonly compare to a stress-filled, anxiety-induced experience filled with getting angry over dying in a video game. Like, sure, I died every now and then, but on the whole, I just found the world engrossing, captivating, and just kind of calming and peaceful to explore. Maybe not peaceful is the right word, but I imagine some of you watching this video will kind of understand what I'm talking about, that there's a beauty to the desolation of Dark Souls, and I think Elden Ring is very similar in this mindset. And once I kind of casted aside the innate annoyance, borderline anger that I used to feel when it came to dying in a video game, and just starting to treat each of those deaths as an actual learning experience, saying, hey, what did I do wrong here? How can I fix this behavior and get better? Well, all of a sudden, these games went from being kind of stressful or anxious on a moment-to-moment basis, and kind of intentionally so, to being really relaxing and also intentionally so. And I think that's one of the overarching points and themes that these games try to bring to the table here. And I think since I've been replaying Elden Ring on a fresh character because my main character is so overpowered and grinded in to the point of hilarity, I think going into the land of the... I was gonna say the land of the lands between, but you know what I mean. On a fresh character, and just, okay, let's explore this world, let's explore these characters, and tackle these challenges. And when I go into it with that mindset, all of a sudden, that feeling that I had with Dark Souls when I was sick, that like a month or so ago at this point, I'm going into Elden Ring and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting that same feeling here. But the open world is designed in such a way to be really exciting and enticing is what I mean. The open world is positively filled to the brim with things to do, at least it is in Limgrave. Whether it's quests to complete, or characters to find, or just monsters to fight, or just situations that you may throw yourself in because you want some cool piece of gear, or some cool piece of loot, or whatever. And I've talked about before how I think the goal and the beauty of an open world game should be to have the content of the game to be the open world, and not to have the open world kind of fall back into the idea that it's a glorified loading screen in between actual objectives. Elden Ring doesn't treat the open world as a to-do list of things to check off, which makes actually navigating and traversing the world kind of, well, mundane and repetitive and tedious busy work. That's not really the thing here in Elden Ring, because they rely on the sense of minimalistic game design, right? And if you recall when the game first came out, a lot of other people in the industry, and even some people, derailed Elden Ring because of this idea that, oh, the UI is too minimalistic, or the user experience is not that well designed, and, well, I kinda gotta disagree here. Elden Ring is all about this sense of adventure, that you will point in a direction on the map and you will go, and chances are you're going to find something cool in that direction. Whether it's a new spell, a new enemy, a group of enemies, a unique situation, or whatever, the game is constructed in such a way so that even its massive open world is filled to the brim with things to discover and acquire and just, well, experience in the game. And I think a lot of the times we as gamers can get too obsessed sometimes with the idea of accomplishing or achieving something on a moment-to-moment basis, instead of letting the game breathe and let us experience all that the game has to offer. Because sometimes, and I think this is true for Elden Ring especially, the true beauty of the game doesn't lie in its monolithic boss fights or these big titular moments. It's in all those individual moments that kind of go by in the blink of an eye as you navigate around the map and may say, oh wow, peering on the horizon is really pretty in this game. Elden Ring is one of those kinds of games where you may find an elevator out in the middle of the woods and you may take it down to find some kind of entire underground complex or city that looks as if it's illuminated by starlight despite the fact that it's underground. It's an absolutely gorgeous world that is constructed with care, attention, and love. And I've been doing a lot of the actual bosses as I've been navigating the first kind of section of the game. I haven't gotten too far into it story-wise. I think I'm about 16 hours or maybe 17 hours into this recent playthrough. I've beaten Margit the Fell Omen a while back on stream. That was a ton of fun. And I've elected this playthrough not to utilize summons or to really utilize magic until I eventually need to get the Dark Moon Greatsword, because of course I gotta go for the Rani ending again. I mean, what am I, a savage? I gotta go for that, right? 100%. My guiding moonlight. Dude, like I wasn't going to go for that. But funnily enough, I'm finding what I once found repetitive and dull and just uninteresting to be really engrossing and engaging. I'm far more welcoming to the challenge this time around than I was before. And we kind of go back and double back to the title of this video. Was I wrong about Elden Ring? And I don't know, really, as I'm making this video, if it's a matter of being wrong or not. It's a matter of taste changing. And I think a lot of the times, we can get too hung up on the idea of being right about something, right? Like, we don't want to lose some kind of internet discourse or argument, or that we may believe that our position may change on a particular issue. And this can apply to a lot of things, but I'm going to use Elden Ring here as an example for myself, to where we can become just kind of too stubborn or fall back on pre-existing notions or determinations that we made so long ago that we don't want to give things a second chance or a chance to be wrong. And honestly, that's one of the great things I've found about playing video games, is the idea that I can be wrong about things. And not necessarily wrong about things, but I can allow my taste to change. I used to be really big into multiplayer FPS games and MMORPGs, and those really were the only kinds of games that I played back in the day. At least primarily so. I played a lot of games, but primarily it was World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, and Halo for me, until I eventually spread my wings and decided to try out a whole bunch of RPGs and JRPGs and the like. And I fell in love with games like Final Fantasy, Dark Souls, Persona, Xenoblade, etc., Zelda. And I could have been stubborn about Elden Ring and just decided, oh, I'm not going to go back to that game because I didn't enjoy my first time around, even though maybe there's things about it that I could really appreciate or focus in on and come to love, or even change my mind about. And in essence, I would have been robbing myself of a very valuable experience. And maybe as I continue to play Elden Ring and get further and further into the game in preparation for the Shadow of the Erdtree, those old feelings may resurface to some degree. But do I want to potentially rob myself of a game that I know has a lot of good in it because I want to focus in on the bad? And the answer is no, and this is one of the things I've been trying to talk about for a long time with the channel, but at the end of the day, sometimes we need to learn to take our own advice on things, and to be willing to be wrong about certain things as well, because what's the point in preventing ourselves from having an enjoyable time with a video game? There's really none here. And it wasn't some moral reason, it was just that there were certain aspects to Elden Ring that I just didn't enjoy my first time around, and that's fine, because even a couple of years ago, I was a different kind of gamer. But my opinions from back then may not necessarily be the opinions that I hold today, because my interests have just kind of shifted and pivoted. And every time I find myself having free time, I just log into Elden Ring and explore the lands between just a little bit more. Maybe dive into a new catacomb, or pick a direction and say, what's over here on the map? Let's go find out. And I have a little adventure, a little experience that honestly builds up with all the other experiences over time. And in just Limgrave, and I don't know if it's Limgrave, that continent shaped like Australia right to the south of Spawn, like that island place, I explored that place and have a whole bunch of these really cool experiences. Like going after and trying to hunt down Blythe. I wanted to talk to the bro, and then I'm realizing, oh wait, there's a giant rune bear here. So I have this entire duel against the giant rune bear, to which I come on top, by the way. Yeah, your boy pulled through. Yeah, great sword in hand, because I gotta do the internet thing where I act as a fan of Berserk despite never reading or consuming it before, as you got to, yeah? And I'm just looking up to Blythe, howling at, like, the sky, because it's not even nighttime. I'm like, okay, so, how do I talk to him again? Then I'm like, oh yeah, I have to go get the finger snap emote. There's so many cool things about the game. But if you get hung up on the idea that you have to achieve something, or that you have to tackle the game as if it's a to-do list of things to do, then I tend to find you are robbing yourself of the beauty of games like Elden Ring, and of these open-ended games with a lot of player agency and choice. Because the experience, first and foremost, is the content. Exploring these worlds up and down and everything in between, all those little moments add up with each other. I wouldn't even say Elden Ring is all about the difficulty or anything like that. It's that experience of the game providing these unique and interesting experiences or challenges at you, and you utilizing the sandbox of tools that the game provides you throughout the game on your journey and what you naturally discover in the world because you chose to go in a certain direction or walk a certain path, the way you utilize that tool set to your advantage. I think there's an inherent beauty to game design of that level or of that style. And that's something that I've really come to appreciate in Elden Ring, and one of the main saving graces for it in my original playthrough back in the day that's still holding strong. You feel yourself becoming more powerful, more capable, and getting more tools in your toolkit throughout the game at a really, really good pace as well. And you can elect to go down a playstyle that you personally find interesting and fun. And right now, I'm just finding bashing things with a giant greatsword to be a ton of fun. At the end of the day, I think a lot of the times we, and even I at points, can take games too seriously and put too much stock in the idea of being really good or viewing, how do I want to phrase this? Viewing the you died screen in Elden Ring as a failure state. And yeah, it technically is, but it's also a learning experience to try and get better at the game. So in conclusion, was I wrong about Elden Ring? Like I said before, I don't know if it's a matter of being wrong or not, but I think where I could have been wrong, and where people can be wrong sometimes, is not allowing yourself to, well, change your mind, or change your opinions on certain things, and try different things, or even retry things, and just tackle it with a different perspective. Why intentionally rob yourself of possibly a great time? Pride? Ego? Like, what are we doing here? Maybe I'm a little bit late to the party, even though I want to reiterate this, I did really enjoy Elden Ring back when it first came out. It's just, even the aspects that I did enjoy way back when are becoming aspects that I'm really enjoying now. And I imagine my one complaint about a lot of reused boss fights will remain, but I think I let that idea overshadow still a lot of really interesting world design and reward structures in the later parts of the game. I'll be really interested to see how I feel about those sections, like the mountain section and the capital city, when I get there again. I've already made a brief trek into Caelid, and oh my god. Yep, it's just as rotten as I remember, but I got my greatsword though. Yeah, we're still going strong. Things are powerhouse as well, oh my god. But I think with that, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games if you can, and as always, leave a comment down below with a game that maybe you changed your mind on, or you played again and enjoyed it way more or way less than you used to. I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your stories, and to hear your perspectives. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye everybody, until we meet again.